Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain also.
Well, some people will say TGIF. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
Yeah, so different things playing out in the polity. Yeah, there's the NNPP still under a lot of pressures. There's angst about what's going on. Kwank was clearly not happy in terms of what's happened. And then there's also a security angle in terms of what the Air Force is doing, which we'll come to in a minute. But I tell you, the dailies have filled the different stuff. And then the petrol, where they are saying petrol price will go up. It's already gone up. It's already gone up.
I saw it on the board yesterday. It was 900 and something.
Yeah, so some have 900, some have more than 900. So, and then you wonder, it just appears as though whatever gains that appears to have been the case seem to have been, what, lost or what?
I do not want to believe that. Well, Chamberlain, I think these matters are still very much on the front burner. And as they unfold, we certainly will be taking one of them, one after the other, and seeing how we can dissect each one of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know that there was a press release by the Air Force, and I think they titled it, yeah, it is titled, Nigerian Air Force reaffirms commitment to civilian protection following reported incidents in Kurigi, Niger State. So that statement was signed by the Director of Public Relations and Information of the Air Force, Hima Dojame, he's an Air Commodore. So they were saying that, yeah, they noted reports alleging civilian casualties following operations conducted on Sunday, January 26 in Kurigi village in Mariga local government area of Niger State. And then the Air Force say they acknowledge the gravity of the reported loss of lives and injuries, and then they convey deep concern for all affected while reaffirming that the protection of non-combatants remains central to its operational conduct. The statement from the Air Force goes on to say, over the past year, the Nigerian Air Force has consistently applied a civilian harm mitigation and response action plan, that's the CHMRAP, if you want it for short, that even though it's a mouthful, embedding civilian protection considerations into all phases of operations while strengthening training, procedures, and safeguards aimed at minimizing harm. It says, in line with this commitment, the Air Force has activated a civilian harm accident and investigation team to commence an immediate and comprehensive investigation into the reported incident, guided by the principles of accountability, responsibility, and transparency. The Air Force assures Nigerians of its unwavering resolve to take responsibility where required, implement necessary improvements, and safeguard innocent lives while continuing to defend the nation with professionalism, restraint, and respect for the trust placed in it by the Nigerian people. This rings a bell, doesn't it?
It does, Chamberlain. This is about, off the top of my head, the third time that we can at least count civilian casualties. I think it's usually called collateral damage. That's what it's called in military terms. And this is about the third time we're recording this. We recorded one in under Operation Lafia Dole in Borno State. That was many years ago. Recently, we recorded another about 2 years ago in Kaduna village, in Tudumbiri village in Kaduna. And this is the third one that I can remember off the top of my head. I'm sure that if we do some more research, we certainly will be able to get others that maybe were not overlooked because of the numbers. Because oftentimes what really catches the eye, many times, even though one person shouldn't die, accidentally, anybody who doesn't need to die within a conflict, especially those who are not responsible for the conflict, need not die. But this is what we sometimes notice with the operations that the Nigerian military carries out.
Yeah. Well, much of the Air Force say they are investigating reports of civilian casualties following an air operation in Kurigi, Niger State. It says it is concerned. It says protecting civilians remains central to its operations. But this morning, there are questions, harder questions. Are these words enough? Because we've heard this script before. When allegations of civilian deaths emerge, international best practice is clear. Independent investigation, public timelines, immediate support for victims, not later, not quietly, not internally alone. What we have instead is a familiar response, an internal review, broad assurances, and silence on timelines, accountability, or compensation. Yes, the Air Force references its civilian harm mitigation framework. Yes, it says an investigation team has been activated. But let's be blunt. Self-investigation by itself does not build public trust, especially in a country still haunted by past airstrikes, tragedies from Zamfara to Borno, where early denials later gave way to painful confirmations. Each time, the story followed the same path: concern, silence, delayed truth. And each time, trust was eroded. This is not about weakening the armed forces. Nigeria faces real security threats, but professionalism is not measured only by firepower. It is measured by restraint, transparency, and accountability. So here is what international standards demand right now: independent civilian oversight of this investigation, clear public timelines for findings, immediate engagement with affected communities, and redress for victims where harm is established. None of that is spelled out in that statement by the Air Force. So this morning, the question is not whether an allegation has been launched. The real question is this: will Nigerians see the findings? Will justice be done? And will anything change? But if it doesn't, Kurigi risks becoming just another name on the growing list of unanswered tragedies. Words are easy. Accountability is a test. We'll be looking to see how all of this eventually comes through. Well, we will have an interesting conversation this morning, examining the polity, trying to see what's playing out and what do we do with all of this that we see happening. So just give us a moment. We will be back. Welcome back. Nigeria's opposition is under visible strain. Senior figures in the People's Democratic Party are crossing over to the ruling APC, even as the PDP battles an internal leadership crisis now before the courts, a dispute that could seriously jeopardize the party's electoral prospects. Well, for critics, this steady stream of defections raises bigger questions. Is this about ideology, survival, or access to power? Does the divided opposition still have the capacity to hold government to account? What does this trend mean for Nigeria's democratic balance? So, to discuss the implications of these defections, the PDP leadership crisis, and the broader weakening of opposition politics, we're joined by Dr. Mike Omeri, who is the former Director General of the National Orientation Agency, is now Executive Director of the Forum for Innovation in African Universities. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start with this designation. What is this FIAU? What do they do? What do you do?
Well, it's a forum that comes together, attracts professors, researchers, scientists to, explore the possibility of coming up with sustainable innovation for revolutionary development in Africa.
I saw in one
so it's a collaborative framework established by people.
One of the dailies I saw this morning said, I think they said the professors of the universities are under strain because they produce research that has no impact in society, and so you wonder.
So that is why this is aimed at utilizing the outcome of such researches across Africa.
Okay.
Because it's now linked. Most of the outcomes will be patented and linked to industry users.
But are you optimistic, though, that when this research comes through, that African leadership or even industry users will actually take them seriously?
Yes, because there is growing need for innovative intrusion, especially from Africa. So the raw materials, the resources we have can be utilized, fit for environment, fit for the population, and so forth. You see, people come from abroad, take your resources back to their country or wherever their industries are located, remodel them and bring them back. So why don't we set up lapidary industries, set up all processing and value chain, mechanisms within the production processes for Africa?
All right. Well, I'm not sure I remember when politicians campaign. I mean, this year they'll be doing a lot of that. I'm not sure I remember if any one of them has actually held that to maybe the topmost on the agenda, that we will make sure research from universities or funding from institutions is given pride of place in our policies. But who knows if that will change this year. But and besides, is the PDP going to be able to do this with all of what we see going on? Your cases are in court over leadership, defections. Taraba, I understand this weekend, he might formally declare for the APC.
Well, the idea is to get people to campaign on ideas. Because most of our leadership have reduced, the campaign process to tribe and religion. And we are not looking at ideas, we are not looking at how we can, get people to take ownership even of themselves. We are still, trying to promote this patronage kind of politics that is driven by resources and welfare. Pre-election. Post-election, what happens next? Politics just continues. And unless we move away from that, we will not achieve maximum traction. Now, yes, defections here and there, people are moving for various reasons. There have been speculation that some of these defections are driven by some inducements and promises of sustaining their political offices or access to some resources. There are some that you would quite agree with me, especially from the PDP's talk, that because of the numerous cases in court and the electoral context in some states around the corner, by elections and so on and so on, so you don't know who will sign your form to INEC, even though INEC, we saw what happened in the case of Ekiti when INEC gave all the codes for the candidate that emerged to upload his papers to the the INEC system. When he came to do it, it was blocked by the same INEC that sanctioned and participated in his emergence in the primaries that threw the candidate up. But that is, by the way, that is politics, and that has led, that kind of behavior has induced many politicians to want to seek safety grounds so they can participate, freely in the next elections to test their popularity and so forth and so on. The issue of ideology, our party, I have never left the PDP, so it's a matter of principle and belief.
But if you were contesting elections, would you still be there?
Well, I'm exploring. I'm still waiting to see what will happen. We have gone to courts to look for answers to questions that are not justiciable. And I wonder, because most of the things that the two parties in the PDP, especially the other contending party, went to court for, had been decided by the Supreme Court on numerous cases, even recently. Internal affairs of the party are essentially for the party. But we have gone to court, and high courts in Abuja are entertaining these cases. And that is why when we had the convention in Ibadan, the courts in Ibadan said, no, I have a foundation. And that's the decision of the Supreme Court. Because you cannot build something on nothing. But the high courts in Abuja can build something on nothing. That is why they entertain these cases.
You know, of all the things that you've said, we're looking for the day when our, politics will be based on ideology, and I'm curious as to how it is. I mean, who needs to force that change? Because clearly, it would seem that we're just moving on cruise and vibes. We like to watch the campaigns, look out for mistakes. How do we center our politics on ideology? How do we make political parties, focus on? But that is a question I'm going to put aside first. The one I want you to answer is this issue of INEC, because it will seem that after all said and done, if people do not have confidence in the INEC that they're currently dealing with, or if they do not have confidence in the umpire, then even if all the politics were based on ideology, it would be as good as not.
I don't want to sound inciting.
Yes.
But if people get frustrated, they may be forced to resort to self-help. Because the institutions of INEC are meant, the electoral management bodies, there are several of them involved in the processes that draw an elected candidate. Now, for instance, the INEC matter. INEC, in every election, even when it was manual, they will tell you at the end of it all that there was glitch. They will spend billions of naira to say they have acquired technology to forestall glitches. At the end of every election, each of the elections we've had, they will report glitch, and nobody has been punished. Wasting taxpayers' money, your money, my money, and everyone. Nobody is punished. Nobody is investigated. And in fact, people get rewarded thereafter.
Are there any signs, sorry to interrupt you, are there any signs that you see right now that are giving you concern?
Well, yes, because I expected that after all the glitches and all that we've had, INEC should by now set up a project, special projects unit, or even a thinking unit to find a way out, to get universities. Look, we conducted a university alumni association nationwide, in fact, worldwide elections online with a system developed by the University of Maiduguri. It was hitch-free within 5 hours. Everything was finished. Everybody knew. You knew your results. You knew whether you won or lost because you could view it as you vote. You still saw it. So why can't INEC ask any of these universities around to come up with something? We don't have to go and import technology. So if these things still persist, and even the electoral law is still not clear, the amendment that is being proposed is still in the National Assembly. We don't know whether it will or will not. We have seen the flaws of the last election. In the last election, they say they want to improve on it. It has not come out. There is a deadline. If it's not so done by February, we may not use it. So these are things that really will give us cause.
In fairness,
and besides, you can see even INEC now is being reduced to our mundane and primitive coloration of, hey, remove this man is a Muslim, this one is a Christian. What is that?
And that's what I was just about to say, that in fairness to INEC, politics or elections are highly contested. As they've said, they say Nigerians are highly litigious people, and there's very little, there's very little trust within the system. So much so that the amount of secrecy involved in conducting elections, otherwise, I mean, what is wrong with using papers here, for instance? What is wrong with using systems? But the amount of secrecy and confidentiality involved in preparing for elections, some people will say, is what has forced INEC to go outside. Otherwise, you will have a lot of people who are either trying to also co-bribe the people that that are supposed to be developing something, or, you know, all manner of, let's say, antics on the parts of politicians.
That is why I say the pressure will eventually force the people to fight.
To fight who? Is it to fight INEC, to fight the politicians? Who are they fighting?
To react against the politicians and the system that create the kind of INEC we see. You see, people want to express themselves. People want to say something. I live in a community. I know who is who. Like in the past, a set of people will sit down and say, oh, that teacher go and contest the election. And it stands.
We've since moved away from there.
We've moved away from there.
You were DG of
yes.
National Orientation Agency,
yes.
and you understood the amount of work you did just to try and change people's minds. Yet, I'm sure there are things that when you're driving, you're wondering, how did we get here?
Yes, we see it every day.
Yes.
To now. And the people, you see, the process had thrown up people who had little concern. All they wanted to do was to go in and attach themselves to part of the treasury of Nigeria. At the end of it, they have 50 houses, they have billions in their accounts, no known means of production. So everybody goes there, and if they get in there and are able to acquire the resources, they bribe everybody down the road. And if their bribery will not work, they resort to the things that inspire us most, the opium of society, religion. and region and tribe and all the mundane things that do not make for progress. So it is still the same politicians who have even taught the people how to become corrupt. Because then we didn't have it. Now politicians will have access to resources, take all of it, friends and family, move to the society and bribe them. So politics has been monetized from the beginning. Just make the mistake of opening your mouth that you want to contest election and see the kind of blackmail you get from churches, from mosques, from individuals, from everybody.
Blackmail?
Yes.
You call it blackmail?
I call it blackmail. Because it's just because you want to contest an election. They'll now be asking you for donation to build a pastor's house, reserve front seat for people who do not merit it.
Is that not the
in
cause?
Churches.
Is that not the cause? Because, I mean, if the politicians were not used to... Because if people hear these stories all the time, dipping their hands into public coffers, living flamboyant, lavish lifestyle, flaunting resources, and promising the people they'll deliver heaven on earth, and at the end of the day, it doesn't become reality.
I don't want to give up on Nigeria. Nigeria is still a country of possibilities and opportunities. And I also believe that one day, someday, by mistake or by miracle, as has always been, we may stumble on someone who will draw the line.
So that's the thing. Do we have to wait until we stumble? How about being deliberate about it?
But we have all the institutions have been compromised, including the individuals. Now, I'm just telling you about the churches and the mosques where seats are even reserved for people. In Catholic Church, you know, or Anglican Church, you go and see their seats reserved.
Seats are not reserved in my own church. But let me go back to the question I asked you initially, because you just said Catholic Church. I had to quickly say, I don't know about that. Seats are not reserved in my own church. But let me quickly go back to the original question, which I asked you about politics and INEC and signs that you were saying that you think needs to be corrected to create the impression that indeed, as 2027 approaches, the umpire is set to be neutral in this contest.
Well, you see, of course, we need to mount campaigns now that the next election will be free and that people's vote will count, because we are not doing it, we are not teaching, and we have seen that there is a narrative that is creeping out. Oh, don't worry, they are going to write results. That is why people are decamping. They are going to do this, they are going to do that. That's dangerous. And it's out there, the streets.
They're going to write results.
People will write results. Yes, people are going to write results. So what are you saying in that party? So better come here, we'll give you. How are you sure that you win an election that has not been contested?
Is that what you're hearing? That people are going to write results?
That I've heard that.
That's why people are decamping.
Some people have been told, you come here, we will give you the ticket, we will give you
some
this,
people
you will come back.
You mean
some
governors are defected?
Some governors, not only PDP governors are defected. There are some PDP governors like Plateau that are defected for good reason.
What was the good reason?
His reason was, well, for him, it was good reason for his people, but then it's bad reason for those who induce him to decamp. Because if you are president of Nigeria under any party, you are president for Nigerians. But if you say, because you are not in my party, so you are not connected to the center, you will not get this, you will not get that, that is an insult, not just to democracy, but to the people of Nigeria.
Is that what they were told before they defected?
Well, there are some people who we read it in the newspapers, that we want to connect to the center and get benefits from the federal government, you have to move to this party.
Yeah, but we hear that all the time. I mean, people have said that when they were talking about during elections, they always say, oh, well, the reason why we're connecting to the center is so that we can get more benefits from the center. It would seem that a little more attention is paid to the states where, you know, the party is in power. That is nothing new. Was there anything in particular, for instance?
It must not be now. We have seen the history of decampment. People who move will always look for reasons, some reasons that you cannot, unfathomable reasons.
No. Well, this particular time has been a bit, and we've not seen this since perhaps 2003 or 2007, where a lot of, you know, parties that were in opposition decamped to the PDP at that time. This is now 2026, and it will seem that the same 2025, 2026, the same pattern is now repeating itself, something we have not seen in close to 20 years. And people are wondering what exactly is happening now that is making that happen, making that possible. You just mentioned the case of Plateau, and I wanted you to, you know, make that a little clearer, because we know that Plateau has had security challenges. were there any carrots or, you know, sticks dangled in the area of security? Because you said it was to benefit his people.
Yes.
Was that what you heard, or is that what you've been told?
It's one of the things that we've heard from officials whom are making announcements. The decamping of the governor, the vice president went and announced they have been trying to repair the road from Jos to Akwanga. The governor had committed state resources to patch up the road. But on the day of his decampment, the federal government announced that in 3 weeks the road will start. So what were they waiting for all these years? These are the kind of things that make us begin to wonder, to look at, to confirm our fears. The things that confirm our fears, the things that make us believe that is driven by inducement. And that is why the governors will say, okay, if I don't, I will not get the road done.
No, some people will say, well, maybe that was to sweeten the deal. After all, isn't politics a distribution of scarce resources?
Yes, but
so if you come to our party, you know, we will make sure that the scarce resources, some of it come to your area.
That is the problem. So if I don't come, what happens to the rest of
the other people that need it. The other people that
so we wallow in our poverty, in our all sorts, because we are not in this party.
I'm not justifying that. What I'm simply saying is there should be a demarcation between something that is something that can be put forward, or you know something that you can say okay can be politically decided. But what I wanted to get clear was to be sure that when it came to the security of lives and property, that did not become a political decision. That perhaps, say, Plateau State needed more security resources, and then that will be on the condition that you defect. That certainly cannot be one of the terms, that cannot be an acceptable condition. Certainly
of course not.
Yes.
Of course not. But I'm not privy to further discussions associated with the decampment, so I cannot say whether security was one of the topmost issues.
Yes.
But I also know that the alignment you have, you know, with government and its resources, federal government and its resources, may help in how you deploy the resources that come to you to solve the security challenge.
But all of these challenges that you've highlighted, we suggest that should not be the case.
That shouldn't be.
Things should change.
That shouldn't be.
But if the opposition doesn't muster enough strength to challenge and perhaps mainstream what should be, well, I guess the available becomes the desirable.
the people decamping were part of the opposition. Don't forget. Now, the opposition has been so deliberately, intentionally weakened. That is, instead of looking and providing alternatives to governance, issues in governance, they are busy trying to solve their internal problem of leadership.
I heard you people say that that's the name of the game. PDP, they borrowed the leaf from the PDP.
Which party did PDP destroy?
There are several opposition parties that PDP didn't read their heads eventually.
You see, let me tell you another story. Most of these parties at formation will even have associate alliances, smaller groups that have no office, nothing, but they go to INEC and get registered. At the end of the day, they can't stand because they are being fed by by an elder brother, for instance. So, if those parties do not stand and we at the end of every election, only to resurface in the next election, you cannot say the PDP is in that class. Structurally, organically, and the spread that the PDP has had over the years, and even the resources it has built.
Isn't that history now?
Well, that is why we are trying to go back to that era.
So tell me,
the lessons of history will redirect our perspective.
What do you see happening? Because with all these cases in court, and some of these persons decamping, saying, look, I don't want my political future to be jeopardized. We don't know where the pendulum will swing with these cases in court. What do you think is likely going to happen to candidates in states that the governors have completed their second term and they are still in PDP? Would they jump ship? Would they stay with the PDP? What happens to them?
Well, you see, those who have finished their second term are not going to be harmed.
No. I mean, candidates that will contest on the platform of PDP, who think they have a chance.
Exactly, there are successors in those parties. And like us, who are waiting and hoping that the litigations will end, the courts will accelerate, because we need to have laws, even from the national, that will make the adjudication of political cases like this not last more than 2-3 months. But cases are dumped here and the judge forgets about it because he's working under instruction. We have seen that play out. And that is why even today in this country there are some judges, once your case goes to them, you already can predict the outcome. And that's too dangerous for society and even for the judge.
So, is it not going to be risky for any candidate to say, I want to contest an election on the platform of PDP?
There is time. There is time. If the election comes, if you have election in March, you don't know what to do, you can decamp. Or you find a way of making sure you participate in an election. You don't have to decamp to the ruling party. You can get another party that is ideologically balanced or aligns with your thoughts.
Do they have ideologies?
Well, if they mouth something.
I was just about to say, what's the ideology of the PDP?
They mouth something.
Remind us.
The PDP was founded not as a conservative party, but one that brought all Nigerians together, irrespective of their backgrounds. Perhaps that has been the problem. Because in 1999, people who were ideologically from different backgrounds, we knew what happened with the MPN in the MPN days, the NPP days, and so forth. As you could see clearly, the Aruo party, AG, and so forth. We knew how they were and what they were pursuing. In the action group, we would see that they were working education. That was the direction. The NPP then, Nigerian People's Party, was all about emancipating people who had otherwise felt marginalized within the Nigerian space. And the MPN said, oh, we are the ones, the champions of society. We are the leaders, but we all knew they were drawing their inspiration from the past. That was what they did. So that was when PDP came, it brought all of these people into one pot and created a jollof rice of, I don't want to say of confusion, but eventually the ideology would have been a merger or a fusion of ideas that would accommodate as many of the people who ran the country in the past, and then the other side would have been perhaps younger people who are coming up with their own ideas to contest for power. But what we ended up with is that the same older generation tutored new leaders in their own ways. So you don't know the difference between PDP, ADC, and all of that. Because every one of them can fit into any of the arrangements.
Some people will say the only ideology is that everybody wants to get a hold of power. There's barely any difference in terms of how, because some people will say maybe that's not so much the fault of the parties, but where we still are as a people, developmentally, we're still at the basic points where people just need food, water, shelter, those basic things, education. And it would seem that the differences, sometimes the differences is so slight in terms of how to achieve all of this for the people that it sometimes get lost. You're not able to tell, which party is what.
Those things you have called, hunger does not know ideology.
Indeed.
And those variables you mentioned, hunger, the education, disease, health, and so forth, have been weaponized by people who have access to the health system, and that is why, or have access to resources, and that is why, like I said earlier, once you make the mistake of saying you want to contest, everybody comes to your house for all of these things on a daily basis.
Regardless of the ideology you espouse.
That does not.
Does that justify that dipping your hands in the cookie jar?
Well, yes, you want to recoup. You want to recoup. You want to. Yes, you have spent money to get elected.
So that's why they go in there. Basically,
some people sell their houses You think when they get there, they shouldn't buy a house and put their families? God forbid, I will not do that.
So that's a stark reality.
It is.
They just have to go there and then...
So the system encourages it. Okay, why should a church be just simply because
Did you just say, God forbid, I will not do that?
No.
In other words, if you do contest tomorrow and you sell your house, you suddenly will get there.
No, but I will not sell my house. That's what I mean.
No, you won't sell your house.
I almost misunderstood it as well.
No.
I had to clarify that.
No. I will not sell my house. But you see, the society tolerates these things. And that is why the moment you say you want to contest, I keep the father's house, they want to build a pastor's house, they want to build this. Mosques will call you, the fence has fallen, the last speaker has spoiled, this one. Okay, where do you get the money from? Instead of them that, like we knew before, they will even gather resources among themselves to assist because they believe in what you are coming to do. Today they want to collect from you, and before now, when you didn't say you want to contest election, nobody came to your house to ask you for assistance to build pastor's house. So why are they doing it now?
So for the highest bidder.
So that they can, and when the time comes, they are not even able to tell their congregants to go and vote for you. Because there are people from various persuasions in the church. And this thing they're doing, they come to you, they go to this one, they go to everybody.
Yeah, for everybody and for nobody.
Well,
so what are we encouraging?
All right, we'll go to break now, but we'll still have some grounds to cover in just a moment, so don't go away. Welcome back to Sunrise Today. Well, we're with Dr. Mike Omeri talking about what may likely happen to the opposition ahead of the elections. Is there a chance that the PDP will merge with the ADC?
No, I don't see that happening. But what I see is not structurally as party, as institutions merging together. But I see frustrated Nigerians looking for where to express themselves, where they can breathe.
What do you mean frustrated Nigerians?
PDP members who will look for where to express themselves. And at that point, that is where I foresee, if they are not going to right result, people will vote whoever is even less prepared, ill-prepared to lead this country. Maybe, may not be ADC, maybe ADC or any other party that is allowed to field a candidate.
How concerned should we be about this narrative when you say writing results? Because in the last elections, assuming that happened, we still saw certain candidates make inroads into different areas. Labour Party, for instance, Peter Obi, we also saw Atiku Abubakar's results. So all of those quote-unquote writing results notwithstanding, they still garnered some votes.
They garnered some votes.
6 million. 6 million odd for both of them.
Yes. What was the outcome in court? They had to go to court. They had to argue. I went to Lagos to do a study of what happened for my own purpose. And I know what I got, the information I collected. It showed that even the APC didn't win in Lagos properly. It showed that Peter Obi came first.
APC did not win in Lagos.
Yes.
The presidential,
They didn't win in Lagos in the presidential election.
So it showed,
INEC reflected that.
It showed eventually in most of the elections from the Lagos people who are involved, and they said they know that APC did not win the national election. They said, you know, the outcome I got.
In Lagos alone?
Not just Lagos, across the country, the total result. But we had to end up in court, and certain criteria will be brought to cancel this one, cancel that one, and somebody else will emerge. We have seen it. It has happened.
Can we go with your own, will I say, informal findings and abandon those who did like a post-analysis of the elections, confirming that largely the results that were recorded were in tandem with what the people actually did vote, except in 2 states, in Rivers and in Imo? Do we then abandon those ones who, were conducting their own sort of exit polls, also looking at what was going on online, and go with yours?
Okay.
That is going with hearsay, more or less.
If we have accepted that there are a few states which you mentioned that had issues, the presidential election, wouldn't it eventually affect the outcome of the election? Has it not cast doubt already on that election, that process? Are those states too insignificant to impact the outcome of the election?
Well, they said that notwithstanding, that was the report
so
of the
that is what we are saying. When we take everything, what was the first report the observers brought? We started challenging them. They had to leave. Many of the observers had to leave. Their reports were not even of any, it was not accepted by Nigeria. In fact, they were warned not to report that, give that kind of report. We saw what happened that time.
Well,
so they are not actually supposed to determine the outcome of our election. We have an institution, an election management body, election management bodies that are supposed to help us arrive at something, that would be acceptable by majority of Nigerians. If it were, we wouldn't be seeing all the litigations that happen. Because if you lose the election, you know that you lost.
Well, litigation is always something that people are entitled to, in spite of whatever it is we see. As a matter of fact, even during the 2015 elections, after President Goodluck Jonathan, called President Muhammadu Buhari, you understand that there were moves by some people within the party to still go to court. And some people said, look, what are we going to court for? The president already called to congratulate his opponent. But there are people who still thought that there were grounds. So the fact that people the elections are seen to be free and fair doesn't mean that they are perfect. And that if people go to court, there might still be room for ways to obtain those results. And some people say maybe that cannot be grounds to say that, the elections were not a reflection of what the will of the people really
Well, I may be part of those who think that the election was not a true reflection of the will of the people.
In 2015?
No, even now. But in 2015,
yes,
we were encouraged by the action of then President Jonathan, because we saw it as a foundation, like building creating a new foundation for the growth of our democracy. That we can lose an election and not go to court. Yes, individuals who were benefiting from the system or who had other ideas may want to insist to go to court.
So you are on the same page with Mr. Urubebe?
No. I said there are people who can behave that way. Urubebe had his reason. He saw maybe his approach may not be, his approach may not be consistent with, but because he carried it too far to a point. But the president himself said, leave it. Let them come.
Speaking about the former president, the PDP paid him a visit.
Yes.
So are they trying to woo him to come in and be the flag bearer or what?
The PDP, as it is now, the Turaki-led PDP, is visiting all leaders of the party who are still active, even if they are not active, but they have not renounced the party beyond redemption. They will go to them for advice, not necessarily to woo them to come, but please, if there is anything you can do to ensure that we are back together, not necessarily you rejoining us, but if you join us, it's good. If not, let our party be. But tell the people that matter, advise them.
So what do we do with the talk of him, considering or being wooed to join the fray and fly the party?
Have you heard that I am being wooed to contest for presidency?
But PDP,
I haven't heard that.
Turaki has not visited you now. Has he visited you?
Well, must every visit be on the papers, in the newspaper?
Oh, yours was behind closed doors.
No, that's by the way. Now, the truth is that a number of people felt that they are reminiscing on the past. And, when you compare costs, you compare even the nature of the security situation at that time, you felt that, well, if Jonathan comes back, things will be different. But I am one of those who even insist that if he comes back, he's not coming to meet Nigeria the way he left it. A lot of things have grown their independent routes. However, should Jonathan or any of those, he visited Namadi Sambo, the PDP visited Namadi Sambo, visited Babangida, they are visiting leaders of thought, they are visiting senior people in Nigeria, because the insanity within the political space needs to be tamed. And if such voices would, would allow or would be heard and restrain all the kind of things we see in the political space, I think we need more of that.
Considering the fact that PDP has lost a lot of their governors who are going for a second term to the ruling party, do you see the ruling party losing that election?
Well, that is their own to contend with, because they are going to meet people who are prepared to contest various elections. Before they
at the presidential level, for instance.
At the presidential level, well, the people will decide. The president should run on his records. You must not have every governor in it. Are you now suggesting that the movement of these governors will make them force the people in their states to go and vote the president?
Yeah, but you people have your calculations now. You know how you say the money shows day. With what you've seen going on, you speak a lot about structure and how you leverage on that structure to determine how the elections might pan out.
So that is where the problem will come from. They'll be fighting themselves. Because you are moving from a PDP with some people to meet people in a party that already has its own structure. So how are you going to blend?
Isn't it better to fight from a position of strength than for this position of weakness?
Well, because you are governor, you have all the state resources to support your fight. Perhaps. If not, in a state where people have already positioned themselves for election, as governor, as senator, and all of that, you come with your own people. And you want to upstage the structure that they have built. Wouldn't there be another fight?
Fumble? Yeah.
I was just going to ask you very quickly, whilst our conversation has focused largely on the PDP, I didn't ask you, what were your thoughts on the emergence of the ADC?
Well, the problems that led to the emergence of ADC, well, started in the PDP with the actions and attitude of individuals who were determined, whether hired, like Wiki, for instance, determined that they must put a stop to the progress and reconciliation that was taking place.
You say hired. I don't think the minister was hired. He decided.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
I'm just saying.
He decided.
Yeah.
He decided to do what he did.
Yeah.
Now, what was the basis? You collect a few friends to go and destroy a structure simply because of your own personal interest? What about the people? The people are watching you. Whatever you are doing, time will come. And that's why I say there is going to be a pushback, no matter what you do. It's laws of nature.
Let me go back to the ADC. I was just about to say...
Now, the ADC...
It was not about the minister.
So, yes. So the ADC... the ADC emerged as a matter of necessity so that its members can find platform to express themselves. But I also see some significant challenges within that movement. Because you couldn't, if they had stayed together, they would have succeeded, they would have found a way. If they are organized, heavily organized now the way they claim they are in the ADC, they would have helped to organize the PDP. Because there are people who are committed to the PDP. It's not everybody that is divided between the Wiki group and the Atiku and the rest group. There are others who are on their own. They believe in PDP. They believe in maintaining some kind of integrity and credible positioning.
So you are really unhappy about the emergence of the ADC?
Yes, of course.
Do you think that they will be able to make an impact, especially at the president?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Why?
You see, the APC is aware of what it did to make the PDP appear the way it is. It wants to win the election by fair hook or crook. The ADC wants to challenge that. On which space? On which space? Because whatever the resources are, I'm not talking about money, for mobilization, majority of it are now in the hands of the APC. The PDP and the ADC has big names. There were once this and that. I checked, for instance, in one of the states, they are not existent at all. They are not in Plateau. Even in Nasarawa, the structure is very weak. I heard the other day they were fighting. One man said he's the chairman, the other one said he's not the chairman. This group went and suspended. The same thing that you see happening here is playing out in some of these states around the country, in Gombe.
So you're saying that there are internal wranglings?
In Adamawa, the last time I went to Yola, there are about 3 or 4 factions of the ADC. So, if what spoiled the PDP at the federal level cannot spoil the ADC at the federal level, something is happening at the state level that will make them incapable of winning the election.
So which election, which position are you going to be vying for?
My interest has always been to go to the Senate, because I still believe I have something new to bring.
Under which platform would that be? PDP?
Yes, that's my party. I've not defected yet. When the time comes, we will know how to cross the bridge.
There's a possibility.
We could go by boat, we could go by...
There's a possibility of crossing somewhere.
Yes, we will.
Oh, there you go.
No. Not crossing to another party.
But crossing somewhere, to somewhere.
Just cross the bridge because I want to win an election. So when the time comes...
Crossing the bridge to the destination.
Yes.
But which vehicle are you going to cross with?
That's why I say
you can't trek on the water.
It could be a camel, it could be a donkey, it could be a boat.
Jesus, I can do that. But
well,
the terrain will determine.
Jesus gave us the faith. He said, if you have faith, you can do this.
Okay, I rest my case. Faith defeats anything. So thank you for coming on, Dr. Omeri, former DG, anyway, now Executive Director of Forum for Innovation in African Universities. That wraps it up today on the program. We thank you all for watching. We will see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso. Goodbye.
Indeed. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. I'm Maokwe Ogunlisa.